everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, right? And fresh back. Well, maybe I shouldn't say fresh back from C2E2, but I am back from C2E2, and I am pretty much like done. I'm supposed to go back to work tomorrow, and I knew I wanted to get my Brad Jones interview out. But I also know that Sunday night is The Outsider. We're on the penultimate episode of the series. They're calling the trailer for next week the season finale. I don't know how they would fill another season in unless they're just being, just putting that out there. I don't know where the story would go after this. I don't know if I want the story to go past this. I hope they can get it done next week. That being said, I also want to say thank you for everybody that watched last week and didn't hate my review. I actually respect how people feel about that episode. And I'll also admit that at the time, doing my Better Call Saul review first and then waiting till the next day to do The Outsider, having seen The Outsider before Better Call Saul and everything, I wasn't giving it the full attention that I usually give it. Because I had to make a choice. And I chose Better Call Saul because I've been waiting for it for over a year. And so, if I had just done the review afterwards, I don't know if it would have been the same review or not. Because after sitting on it, I stand by what I said. But it might have, after second viewing or something, maybe my opinion would have changed. But it was a divisive video, but I appreciate the respectful comments that people put out there. People still not hearing the fact that I said I liked the goddamn episode. But if you don't, just like I said, if you came to this channel to have your opinion regurgitated back in your mouth, like then you're at the wrong channel if you can't accept other people's opinions. And I had some great discourse with a lot of you about this, and I really appreciate all of you that stayed respectful of each other, of myself, the fact that we can debate these things and talk about these things and not make it personal, because this was that episode was the only one that I didn't give a glowing review. And I've even tried to defend people that just don't even like the show, even though I don't know why you watch something that you don't like week after week after week. What are we, the fandom menace over here that just watch things so that they can bitch about it? So, anyway, but this week is a different story. We're at the penultimate episode called Tigers and Bears. Full spoilers, of course. And one of the things that I wrote down from last week, and I wrote it again this week, and I was like, I'm still not convinced that this isn't a trap. But I'm proven wrong because of a fuck-up brother, who I said also last week was going to be the problem. He was going to be trouble. He was going to be big trouble for everybody. And he sure enough did. I also thought that the trailer last week might have had a lot of people thinking that we see a bunch of people going into a cave and getting, rocks fall on them, and I could tell from the way that it looked that it was a flashback. I did like that. I did like the flashback of the story of the people that turn out to be the Boltons. As soon as I said Bolton, I thought Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones. The Claude and his brother's family. They talked about where they were all buried, his ancestors, and you find out that the bear cave that they were talking about here, right behind me, is where a good amount of people from their family are buried. They were buried alive, stuck in that cave, looking for those kids that got lost in there. That is horrifying. I already have, I've tried to go into cave systems, and I can't go very far. Because there's that enclosed space, that thought of underground, that thought of if the earth could just swallow you up. And that just doesn't sit well with me. Not at all. So caves and me, no thanks, man. I can't. I have a hard time even watching people in videos doing caves. Like that movie, The Descent. I can't do it. I mean, I love that movie, but I can only watch it every once in a while because just the spelunking parts before it gets all rah, it's a very tough watch if you're claustrophobic. And I'm not claustrophobic really. I'm not into undergroundy things. I'm not into caves. Like, I'm fine as long as I know that there's not earth above me right now. Like, or deep below, like, so the whole story was really creepy because can you imagine being all those people stuck in there desperately trying to get out and then eventually the worst they all it ends badly for them, and by badly I mean they would have eventually turned on each other probably for survival. And yeah, look at all those people. They're all stuck in there for the most part, and that's just terrifying to think about, the imagination of it. See, that's what I mean about how good the show is when they let you use your imagination. It was what I was talking about last week. Well, once we see the thing, it's out in the open, it lost its mystique. It took me out of it, and I will stand by that. And anybody that says, well, we had to see it in some way, no, not really. Not really. We've managed this far. And they did a really good job in this episode of tell, don't show. Even with the very end. I'm sure we're going to see more. Like, I can tell we're going to see more. But, like, when Claude's brother fucks up and tells him, and don't blame the pot, because the guy has been a little bitch since Jump. Okay? He has been a problem with them being there. They keep saying, we are looking out for your brother. He has that gripe against the cops because he's an ex-con. They've been nothing but respectful. And he's that character. He's that character who still does the thing. And even Claude is like, what did you do? What did you do? You just killed those people. At least they go after them. And there is a major spoiler in like earlier trailers if you freeze frame it. You can even Google The Outsider and you'll see the shot, a frame they have of all the cars and where they're at the end of this episode. Was like smoke's charred out of it and there's several bodies on the ground. And if you look at the people in this and look at the picture of that, you can pretty much see who's going to be dead on the ground, at least on some level. But I liked that was a flashback of them in the caves. Thought that was a really cool way to tell the whole background of what happened to the Bolton family and all those people and why it's been sealed up since 47. I like Ralph and the rest of what I call the Monster Squad playing the local cops like, we're not saying that our guy, your guy is our guy, but our guy in there, we want him for separate, we all got called in. We're doing this for the DA. We have questions about a case of ours, which now starts to look like your case might have to do with something of ours. Can we see your witnesses and all this? And and Ralph playing it so well of just inter-department, inter-squad, like police unit courtesy, trying to dodge around the question and the answer of why they're all really is handled really well by Ben Mendelsohn and the rest of the actors here. I really dug that a lot. Because what are they going to tell them? It's hard enough for them to do it. If the more people they bring in, the more that this whole thing would get shut down like that. You tell the wrong person and they're going to call somebody and say, what are you guys doing there? You're chasing literal monsters. This is done. Ralph telling Howie, we have to both believe this if we're going to be here. I like that. Taking Claude to get the best chicken in 200 miles because it knows what Claude knows. See, now that was foreshadowing right there. But I mean, they've been telling us, we've known it's MO, but they were making it clear, like, as long as he's in the dark, everything goes off without a hitch. And again, it was like, I talked about how the straightforwardness of this, that there were no twists. And I think people took it the wrong way when I didn't mind that there's not twists. It's brave of a show to be this straightforward. Because these days everything has to have a twist. Everything has to be, you're looking this way. Well, guess what? We're going that way. And even worse, they'll even go, you think you're going this way, well, and then we go, well, for those that will predict that we're going that way, we're going to go right up the middle with something different that you wouldn't even ever see coming. So these days, writers and directors and people that are trying to tell stories are always trying to get ahead of the audience so that we can't predict what's going to happen. And so when something like this actually just plays it straight, that's what I'm not going to say it took me out of it. It just was like shocking to me that it really is just this straightforward. It's not bad. I'm just not used to it. It's been a long time since I've watched anything this straight. It feels like I'm watching a Coen Brothers kind of story, actually. And that is the one thing that I will give you guys, is that, and I still think you guys mistook what I was saying, and it's my fault. Maybe I didn't, like I said, I wasn't giving it 1,000,000% last week. That I just didn't clarify that part of how I felt. Ralph's wife almost running somebody over when she hears that it's there. I thought that was very believable. I really like that. Like, driving is, if you get distracted like by something like that, I completely believe that she would, how many times have you backed up in the driveway and just been caught unawares by something and almost ran over the family dog or something? I don't know, but I really liked that. It felt natural. I know that's just a small detail, but again, this show is full of small details that really aren't in a lot of other shows. Like, especially here's a detail, like when Ralph tells Claude and Howie that are going to get the chicken the seatbelts. That's all he says, is seatbelts. It's just a random thing to say. One word said in a way that means we need you alive. Seatbelts. Another dead kid turning up. What's up with that? And that was really kind of glossed over. It's one scene. The secretary comes in, talks to the guy who's going to quit, and they say, we found another dead kid, naked, tore up from the floor up. And I know they talk about it next week. So who killed this kid? I don't know. Is there more than one of these things then? Is that how you get a second season out of this? I don't know. When they interviewed the kid at the police station, the one from last week, at first it was like, they're asking the kid if he got scratched. Why not the grandfather? Thankfully, in the very next scene, Ralph says, well, we know about the kid getting checked out, but what about you? And he's like, well, if it scratched me, I didn't feel it. Now, that's not a no. It's just, again, this show's so straightforward that I hesitate on going, well, keep an eye out for old grandpa, but it'd be way too... If that turns out to be a thing, I'll be happy. I mean, I don't know about happy, but... Anyway, Holly finding the goop on the tourist thing was another cool sign. The grandfather describing the creature as still staring at him from behind a mask after the mask was off was a great touch. Because again, see, you're getting into somebody's head and their description of it, and then you hearing it and you making up your own like imagination. Like, again, this show's so great about that. The private detective that works for Howie telling Ralph that he needs to take small bites of, the reality of the situation. Ralph is doing exactly what I said would happen if you start to accept this, if you would believe this. It turns your whole life upside down. He immediately is like, yeah, and it changes everything that we've ever thought before. If this is real, then what else is? And the guy's telling him, take small bites, accept what you can right now for what you have to accept, but don't overthink it, in essence. And I thought that that was needed. I like that. That's a great way of putting it, to kind of explain what I'm talking about. Is that, yeah, if this is real, then what else is? And how would that mess with every single case that you ever go after? Anything that's like you can't figure out, any case that you can't solve, anything that where you were at a dead end, or you got so far and then you can't explain something, well, would you suddenly start making the leap to the supernatural or the paranormal now that you know that this is out there? And how quickly could that make you lose it? Or people think you're losing it and lose your job because of it. So Ralph's going down that kind of rabbit hole of thinking that I would go on. Like, if this is real, then everything could be real. And yeah, we get to the end here because we might as well. Yep, that means Claude's brother tells him, hey man, just wanted you to know. And they head out there to try to stop him, but when Andy and Holly are in the car and they kiss and they're doing like movie trivia for movies she hasn't even seen, which is shit that I do. People will be like, oh, what's this movie? And I'll say blankety 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 blank, and they'll be like, oh, was it good? And I'll say, never saw it. But I know about it. I can tell you all sorts of details about movies I've never seen. I thought that was a really great scene, and then they kiss. But that whole time, knowing that Jack's out there with a sniper rifle, I kept going, I'm just waiting for the head to explode. Well, like in the car, Andy to get shot in the head, or them to just get shot up while they were in the car, that scene. The tension was really high. And so when they do get there and Jack's there waiting, and I was trying to defend Jack as not being a total coward, but he's a coward. He's a total coward. I take it back. He should just blow his brains out. And maybe this thing is preventing it from happening on some level. I love it when they say The Thing, because it just totally makes me think of John Carpenter's The Thing. Because, the whole basis of that movie is it can look like other people. So the detective, he's the first one gone. They could have faded to black. I'm actually shocked that they didn't just fade to black and let us hear gunshots. But no, the private detective, he dead. I mean, he gets his head blown off. And then, Ralph's standing there with blood all over himself. Now, I feel like Ralph kind of sensed something was about to happen right before it did. And we fade to black, and next week, it looks like a lot more people are going to die. And like I said, if you look up that picture, there's at least 3 or 4... There's 4 bodies on the ground, I believe. 1 on one side and 3 on the other. And a car smoldering. And the red van is there in that picture if you look it up. Which means that the red van that's Howie and Claude and his brother show up in that picture. Only if you want some spoilers, if you want to get your magnifying glass out. I can definitely confirm one of the deaths that's there, but I'm not going to say. But... besides the private detective, I mean. So anyway, that's all I really got for this week. It's a pretty great penultimate episode. At least I hope it's the penultimate episode. I really honestly just want this to be one season. So anyway, I think a much better, more let your imagination run wild kind of episode. We only saw this thing in like kind of one kind of side frame of it looking kind of off and looking like kind of sloppy. How much does this thing need to eat? By the way. Anyway, if you like this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe if you're not a subscriber to the channel. Otherwise, you can find me on Twitter at reviews_gun. This is Rob from Smirking Gun Reviews saying we'll be back with the season finale, the series finale. I don't know. We'll have to find out next week. Have a good one, everybody. It's time for me to go to bed. Bye.